help but feel pretentious whenever I decided to take my writing to a coffee shop. I would get looks sometimes from people who didn't appreciate little me taking up an entire table all to myself, and the empty chair opposite where I was sitting tended to agree with them, unhappy that I wasn't filling this table with conversation, like all of the others around it. But I couldn't always write at home. Lumiere was a sanctuary, a safe place. The powerful magic wards around the house ensured that no one could hurt anyone within its walls. But it was a big house, and I hadn't appreciated just how empty the place truly was until recently, until the people that had been living there for over 200 years had all left. So I took my writing outside most of the time, to coffee places and parks. New Orleans in the summertime was a gorgeous place, so full of color and life and people. Flowers were in full bloom, showering gardens with color and filling the air with the scent of life itself. The French Quarter was always full of groups taking haunted tours, or tourists snapping photos. At night, Bourbon Street filled up with noisy, rowdy partygoers. I finished the chapter I was on and looked up from my keyboard, breathing deeply and stretching the stiffness out of my back, the result of being hunched over a laptop for hours. An employee called out an order, and people murmured and laughed over the thick whir of a frothing machine. A couple of teenagers stepped up to the bar and picked up their cups. I watched them look around for an empty space, find none, and then look to me. They didn't judge me like others had done today, and that was why I decided to signal them over, pack my laptop up, and give them the table. I left the coffee shop and took to the streets. The sun was bright and high, noon having only just passed. I strolled along the sidewalk, one earbud hanging as I picked a decent song to play on my way to the Scarlet Cat, only half paying attention to my surroundings as I went. The crossing light changed to green, and I started to walk until I heard the loud grumbling engine and had to look, and I was glad I did. The Harley was coming right at me. I jerked back just as the bike swerved around me, and I miraculously dodged it as it rumbled on. I stood still, now, my heart wedged in my throat and hammering hard, as horrible images of what could have just happened raced through my mind. Stuffing my phone in my pocket, I spun on my heel to look at the bike that had just cut me off and found the driver had pulled the Harley into a parking spot nearby. "Hey, asshole," I said. "You almost hit me." The guy sitting on the bike didn't look around. Instead, he took his time removing his helmet, which he hung on the handlebar, before standing up. The back of his leather jacket had an image of a snarling wolf embroidered on it, and he was wearing a studded belt with a biker chain hanging off. I could have walked away, could have just kept going on my path and ignored this all too reminiscent of New York moment. But I didn't. I walked over to him, my chest warm with anger, cheeks flushed, hand curled into a fist. I didn't care how much taller or stronger than me he was. "Didn't you hear me?" I asked. He turned his head to look at me as he arched over his bike to retrieve something from one of the saddlebags, and then smiled. "No," he said. "What did you say?" "Whoa," I thought, hesitating. He had sea-green eyes that shone in the sunlight, a messy mop of shaggy black hair pressed somewhat flat by the helmet he had been wearing, and a chiseled face a mother would be scared to see on her son, for all the hearts he would break with it. His widening grin caused his lips to part, revealing a set of neat white teeth behind them. Why were the jerks always hot? I shook the dazzle off and scowled. "I said, you almost hit me." He pulled a brown deerskin sack out of the saddlebag and straightened out. He was taller than me, and not by a little bit either. "Why would you call me an asshole?" he asked. "We've never met." So the jerk had heard me. "No, but who runs a red light, nearly hits someone, and doesn't apologize?" I asked. "Was it red?" "You know it was." "I must not have noticed. There was a pretty girl crossing the street."